For many individuals trying to break through in the world of professional wrestling, the common idea is that for one to have success, they must be signed to the WWE. After all, in the US and for most of the world, WWE is wrestling. Hogan, Savage, Steve Austin, and many more have become household names with the company throughout the years. Even though, to get to that point, they have to spend years in other promotions and territories owning their craft. While many would and will continue to reach this quote-unquote promised land, there was one that saw right through Vince McMahon's grandiosity presentation and went against the grain to ensure his legacy and that his character stayed intact. And even after joining the company after years fighting against it, his fears were proven right. After being forced to retire, he made it his goal to come back and go out on his own terms. This is a story of defiance. This is a story of the outlaw nature of professional wrestling. This is the story of a resurrection of an icon. This is Sting! World Championship Dedication. In 1987, a young Sting was signed to Jim Crockett Promotions as a part of the NWA, which would see the formation of the promotion that was most synonymous with the Stinger, World Championship Wrestling. If you're a wrestling fan of a certain age, this is most definitely where you know Sting from, being that he spent the better part of 20 years as a part of WCW, battling the likes of Rick Rude, Mike Rotunda, and Big Van Vader. After only 2 years with the company, the head booker at the time, Dusty Rhodes, saw star potential in Sting, and it's not hard to see why. Sting was WCW as much as WCW was Sting from the moment he signed with the company to the last episode of Nitro. Sting was along for the ride and made his loyalty to the place that laid the foundation for his iconic legacy. A great in our sport once said, "To be the man, you have to beat the man." Sting and Ric Flair's rivalry was a mainstay and cornerstone of early WCW. If you're a younger fan and were wondering why Ric Flair wants to be a part of Sting's farewell tour, these two are star-crossed wrestling performers that are meant to fight one another. Case in point, Clash of Champions 1988. This classic 45-minute draw might seem odd of a result given that it was outside of AEW. But this match created Sting as a made man. With more time, Sting could have possibly beaten the dastardly Nature Boy, but it played such a more important role in Sting's future. Building his way back up, he was able to build an even more organic fan base, leading to the NWA 1990 Great American Bash. Sting, decked out in American flag, face paint and gear, was able to end the 400-plus day reign of the Nature Boy, defeating Flair with the Four Horsemen in front of an electric Baltimore crowd. A classic passing of the torch moment and a classic wrestling rivalry. The Surfer and the Crow. The icon, like many professionals in our sport, had to evolve as time marched on. Long gone were the white meat babyface good guys telling kids to eat their vegetables and respect their parents, and in were the badmouth anti-heroes of the Attitude Era. Hulk Hogan's massive heel turn to form the NWO with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall is the first shot in the Monday Night Wars between WCW and WWE. Within storyline, the NWO had tricked the majority of the WCW roster that Sting was on their side. Dejected and lost, Sting said goodbye to WCW. Now primarily looking on through the rafters of whatever arena they were in that night, Sting was still there to watch on, trading his bleach blonde hair and flamboyant face paint for a look more inspired by Brandon Lee's The Crow. This placed Sting's career into two very distinct yet different eras, Surfer Sting and Crow Sting. It could be seen as a massive risk, because not only was wrestling about to enter its most white-hot period of all time, WCW was entering its hottest angle ever. This transformation gave a new edge to Steve Borden we hadn't really seen before, and I personally couldn't imagine Sting as of now without his trademark coat and black baseball bat. And to give you guys a little bit of my backstory with Sting, my first integration with him was that my cousin owned NWO versus WCW for the N64, and I would always play as Sting because I thought he just looked so freaking cool. Total non-stop action. With the closure of WCW and the purchase by the WWF happening in 2001, their biggest boom period turned out to be the catalyst for their closure. This would then leave the roster with two options: either get bought out by the WWF and jumpstart a lot of dream feuds people had during the Monday Night Wars as a bit of an invasion angle, or sit at home and collect their original salary that was promised to them by Turner Broadcasting. Some held out given the massive payday that they were getting from their former home. Sting did decide to hold out and not sign with WWE, but it wasn't a money issue. The Icon didn't truly believe that WWE knew how to properly book his character, and given WWE's track record with anything mildly spooky looking, can you really blame the guy? After doing some indie appearances and teaming with his friends like the Great Muta over in Japan, Sting soon found his new home in the ashes of what was WCW. TNA, or Total Nonstop Action, was found in conjunction with the NWA and would hold weekly pay-per-views in order to get off the ground. The promotion has seen many formations, names, and rosters over the years. The likes of Sting, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles made this place a destination for many. At the time, the idea of any promotion being an alternative to WWE in North America sounded like a pipe dream, especially after the folding of WCW. Sting's feuds with the likes of Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle, and Abyss were such a breath of fresh air compared to the stagnating WWE product. At the risk of sounding hyperbolic, without Sting, TNA, and the aforementioned men, who knows what kind of alternatives we'd have right now in the world of professional wrestling, especially here in North America. Without TNA's early trailblazing, who knows, we may not have an All Elite Wrestling, a GCW, an ROH. The Main Event Mafia. Throughout Sting's career, a majority of the time, he has been a babyface, someone to cheer for who would triumph over evil, and chances are there are generations upon generations in your household right now who grew up cheering this man. So what happens when everyone's favorite face-painted good guy goes bad? Enter the Main Event Mafia, comprised along with Sting with the likes of Kevin Nash, Booker T, and Kurt Angle. The group was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek look at the not-so-uncommon criticism of promotions outside of WWE, pushing ex-WWE talent to the top of the card. The group saw it as their duty to control every title in the promotion given their joint experience. They would go on to have very entertaining feuds with the likes of TNA OGs like Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. Gone were Sting's trench coat and iconic face paint and inward tailored suits, and the ultimate sin of all, sunglasses inside. One of the most notable factions in TNA/Impact history, Sting once again was able to highlight his versatility as a performer. Joker Sting. You see, now that TNA had its foundation, it needed to level up a notch. Here we go, why don't we bring in some recognizable names and go head to head with WWE? Damn it, not again! How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan's TNA saw the real-life parody of what the Main Event Mafia was supposed to be in full force, with the two men trying to reignite the Monday Night Wars. Which was interesting at first, and then Bret Hart returned to WWE and the whole idea died a very quick, horrible death right out the gate. This entire era of TNA needs its own video, but once again, like in WCW, in the dark times, Sting was still a highlight of the night. And much like he had done before, Sting took inspiration from the box office to have his next era of his career. And with The Dark Knight recently releasing, enter Joker Sting. Dubbed the Insane Icon, we saw Sting turn himself up to 11 during this time. While the rest of the TNA card needed a lot of work, it was really enjoyable to see him torment Hulk Hogan every week. People tend to be split on this gimmick for the man, and to be fair, I see why, but it's an innovation that is truly hard to ignore. The gimmick was most definitely over with British crowds, being that TNA toured the UK a lot during this time. That's why we saw the return of Joker Sting for AEW All In at Wembley Stadium. And hey, when it's showtime, it's hard to deny the results. His WWE debut. No one can deny the legend of Sting within the world of professional wrestling, and the one thing Sting and professional wrestling will always have in common is that nothing is ever for sure. And to be fair, this is pre-AEW or any other company really being to that level, and TNA basically had the foundational integrity of a balsa wood airplane, so where else could he really go than WWE? While his reservations about the company were sadly proven right in his match with Triple H being nothing more than a rehash of the Monday Night Wars, two things are actually sure about Sting. Nothing's for sure, and the man can make an entrance. Let me set the stage for you here. Seth Rollins has just won the US title off John Cena, along with being WWE champion as a part of the Authority storyline. To honor this achievement, they set a reveal of a statue in his honor, but instead of a bronze monolith, underneath the curtain, the Icon. Most definitely one of the biggest surprises in WWE history, it truly felt like a fever dream to see Sting inside of a WWE ring. While his booking with the company during his time there was not necessarily the best, and an unfortunate injury during a match with Seth Rollins would see him forced to retire early, the Stinger was able to get a well-deserved Hall of Fame induction. And with the power of hindsight, it really all worked out in the end. the elite icon. It had been a few years since we saw Sting in a wrestling ring, given the previously mentioned career and life-threatening injury. After about 4 years of being away and his WWE contract expiring in October of 2020, just 2 months after that, we heard the sweet siren call of Tony Schiavone declaring, "It's Sting!" Being a bit more limited in the ring, funny enough, the pandemic was a great time for Sting to make his return, with cinematic matches being a perfect fit for his new style. And when that era of wrestling ended, this mad old man just started jumping off shit. And while the no DQ tornado tags most definitely helped cover up for any limitations Sting might have in his later years, it felt like we were turning back the clock on the icon with his new partnership with Darby Allin. Sting felt reinvigorated. He felt like he was home. He felt like the icon of old. And like any icon, he should go out in the way he wants, on his own terms. Bye bye Muta. If Ric Flair is Sting's wrestling soulmate in the US, the great Muta has to be his star-crossed lover in Japan. The two first faced off as Sting was on excursion in All Japan Pro Wrestling, and the two would find some way to interact with each other throughout the years since, spanning multiple companies and multiple decades. WCW, AEW, the two have been everywhere together. This made Muta's 2023 farewell tour feel that much more special, given that his final match would be him teaming up with his longtime friend Darby Allin at Pro Wrestling Noah's Last Love event. It's extremely rare for any wrestler to go out the way that they want. Sometimes retirement can happen with one freak injury, or sometimes retirement can be played really fast and loose. Looking at you, Rick. But a pro wrestler being able to have one final match with a great colleague is all that they can really hope for, and then also to go out on their own terms makes it that much more cathartic. Which leads us to his team with Darby Allin. Sting and Darby were able to develop an otherworldly connection, and it showed in their work. Darby, for his part, had a clear and cut mentor, and this aided him with his feuds with the likes of Christian Cage and the Four Pillars. And Sting, for his part, had a battery put in his back with Darby's new brand of energy. Not just using the no DQ stipulations to phone it in and give a half-hearted performance, but to create amazing moment after amazing moment. For me personally, being at the first ever Forbidden Door and watching Sting leap off the entrance tunnel will be a memory that will be hard for me to forget, and is honestly one of my favorite wrestling memories I've made to this date. It's a pretty common joke at this point that Sting's tag partners tend to betray him all the time, but this team he has with Darby Allin, and frankly his entire time with AEW, has just felt different. He's felt like the Sting of old. Steve Borden has created countless moments and memories for so many generations of wrestling fans. As he rides off into the sunset, you couldn't ask for a better man to show us all what it truly means to be an icon. A man who has always marched to the beat of his own drum, and we love him every second for it. Because this is a legend. This is a man. This is an icon. This is Sting.
What's going on, everybody? Dad Hat Wrestling here from the Wolfpack Podcast over on Twitch and World Championship Wreckage here on YouTube. Please give us a subscribe whenever you get a chance. We appreciate the support. But today I am here with Extreme League Wrestling. You know, we're talking about the icon. We're talking about a man that to me is the GOAT, the measuring stick, the be-all, end-all of every professional wrestler that has been and ever will be, and that's the man called Sting. Sting got me getting into wrestling at a very young age. He's the first thing wrestling-wise that I remember. I remember sitting on my grandfather's lap in the den in Virginia one summer. Brightly colored face paint, neon tights, the white flat top haircut, loud, screaming, beating his chest, and immediately being drawn in.
Sting, simply put, just thank you for everything. Thank you for everything that you did for the pro wrestling business. Thank you for making me a fan of the pro wrestling business. And if I hadn't have seen you in 1991, I don't think I would be making this video right now. So thank you very much for everything that you've done. And just like all the other Sting fans, I'm gonna be a wreck on Sunday night.
He's one that has captured the hearts of everybody. Whether you love Surfer Sting, whether you love Crow Sting, whether you really love him in AEW now, and you know he's doing things you've never seen him do before. The TNA run, the WWE run, as short as it was. He's in the TNA Hall of Fame. He's in the WWE Hall of Fame. Both well-deserved.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. It's IXLJ, the OG from Cole TV, and I've been asked to share my thoughts on who I think is, without a shadow of doubt, not only one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, but one of the greatest human beings. We're talking the icon Sting. I mean, my gosh, what else can I say that hasn't already been said about Sting? You talk about a guy who has transcended professional wrestling into pop culture. Not a whole lot of wrestlers can lay claim to that, but Sting is definitely one of those guys. I mean, you talk about a loyal person staying with World Championship Wrestling all the way until its end. Man, oh man, and just the moments, the matches, the memories Stinger gave us. And my gosh, man, how long a career he's had, and look how long it's spanned. It's just, it's mind-boggling. But
he's just always been the constant. He's been the constant in pro wrestling, and to know that he's not going to be the constant anymore, can't lie, it brings a tear to my heart every time I think about it. I'm now getting to share my love for Sting with my son, my oldest, who is just now starting to get into wrestling and really likes Sting as well. So I'm having a lot of time to kind of revisit that. And those moments that just make Sting Sting, from the feuds with Flair and Vader and Rick Rude to the Crow Sting, which hit right at the perfect time as I was becoming a teenager. You know, he was silent. He wasn't saying anything. You know, it's a lot of like how I felt as a teenager. Like, I didn't know what to say. I kind of felt alone against everybody, and that was Sting. You know, TNA was a tremendous run, multiple time world champion there, but like I said, he's the constant to me. He's the be-all, end-all. He is the GOAT.
Sting has showed you the blueprint to become a successful professional wrestler. Just definitely through hard work and determination, as well as really staying in touch, I think, with his fan base. Very loyal to his fans, us little Stingers out there. So many moments I could share with you all. I know other people are doing that, but Sting is going to go down at the end of the day. It's one of the all-time great professional wrestlers. His legacy will live on forever. And I have to say this, I don't think anybody really has a bad thing to say about Sting. And that's saying something in the world of professional wrestling. So, I know come AEW Revolution, I'm not going to be the only one who's going to be having tears in his eyes. But Sting, thank you so much for an incredible career from one of your all-time favorite fans. Love you.
That is, as excited as I am to celebrate him at Revolution, I'm going to be really sad to not see him on my TV anymore. Thank you, Sting.